Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome back to the channel. We're back at it, guys, with the LS Swap Chronicles or LS Swap series, whatever you guys want to call it. But today we are tackling the elephant in the room. That's right, the elephant in the room. What is it? Wiring. You guys already know wiring, man. Everybody hates wiring. I don't mind it. It's actually kind of soothing if you want to call it. I know I'm crazy, whatever. But let's get to it. Check it out. We got the wiring laid out. You might ask, why the hell I got gloves on? Well, guys, you guys remember this is a 1970 Chevelle, so you're talking about 50 plus years of dirt, grime, dust, all kinds of nastiness all over this harness because we're going to take it apart. Now, what I got laid out here is the bulkhead that comes out of the engine bay. You can see right here, that's where it connects to the firewall, and then it gets routed out to your engine bay. Now, we're going to rework this whole thing. Hopefully, we don't find anything too crazy where we got to just replace the whole harness. But the only way we're going to find out is actually just get down to it.
Later that same evening.
Oh boy, I feel like I need a halftime stretch right quick. Ooh, that was a pain in the ass. Look at this freaking mess, y'all. Yeah, this is what we got going on. This is what we end up with. Man, what a pain in the butt. Years and years of tape, years and years of people adding tape to this harness. But believe it or not, it is not in bad shape. Not in bad shape at all. There's a few little connectors here and there that we're going to have to fix, like with the lights and stuff. But it's not terrible. What is terrible, believe it or not, is the dash side. I was looking at the dash side, and there's no way I'm going to save the dash side just because there's too many cuts in it. But this looks pretty good, so we're going to continue on with this. Let me show you what's going on here. Obviously, we got this side from the bolt connector that kind of goes towards the engine, windshield wipers, etc. And then you got this side that continues up front, not to mention this bad boy right here. So this is the bad boy from GM that really is your power distribution. They actually solder these and crimp these together. I took everything apart so you guys can have a better visual. You guys can see what's underneath there. We'll do the same thing. We'll good nice heat shrink on there with some probably like a really nice wire loom to like protect it and make sure there's no shortage there because it is live power. We're gonna go back and start back here though, so that way it's not too overwhelming. On this bulkhead, you're really gonna keep basically all these, right? These are your connectors for your windshield wiper motor. You're not gonna get those out of there. We are going to lose this wire, so remove this wire, this blue wire. I want to say this is your old oil switch. Remove that. We're actually going to repurpose this orange one. I totally forgot about the orange, guys. GM also, orange is huge for constant power in these cars. So this is a constant power. This looks like the old blower motor power. So if you guys have this, I'm going to repurpose this, but the tricky thing is that I'm going to actually bring this guy. We're going to use this power. If I can get it out of here. It's stuck. Whatever. But I'm going to use this power to power our relays for our fans. So we're just going to move it over here. And we'll move it to this side. So we'll keep that one. And then we're going to remove this black and pink wire. We can cut that one away. Purple, like I told you guys earlier, that's really thick, boys. That is your starter wire. That goes all the way up, and you can see somebody already did a nice little splice job on it. We'll get rid of that. We'll cut it down and do our own thing. But the main one is the one I want to talk to you about here. You see this thing? This thing looks like, I don't even know, almost looks like speaker wire, believe it or not. But it's a resistance wire, what they call it. These old cars, they used to run off like a point system for the distributor and ignition setup. So they run this resistance wire. It didn't really require a lot of amperage to start this car, believe it or not. So minimal current run through this thing. Looks like somebody kind of hacked this thing up because they went to an HEI style distributor and they did this job on it. But we're going to get rid of this, but it's super important. So this can cause a fire, and I've been there. Trust me, I've been there. My first swap on the Chevelle is that we just reused this one for our ignition hot for our LS harness for the swap harness on the engine. And guess what? This thing started to catch fire because this thing does not hold up to the amount of current that is going to be running through this wire. So we're going to end up undoing this guy, undoing it at the bulkhead, and putting in a new wire, a nice thick gauge wire there. We'll probably go with like a 14 gauge or something like that. That should be plenty. But don't use this. So you're going to need that for your ignition for your LS swap harness. So the only one we're cutting today on this side is the blue. We'll cut the blue and we'll cut this one here. So let me do that real quick. So you want to make sure you're doing the right one. You look in the back of this thing. We're going to do this guy here next to our starter. So it's going to be that second one, I should say the first one towards the camera here, this guy here. Not the far right, but the one to the left. So we're going to try to just squeeze this connector down here. Take some needle nose. Just kind of pinch it down. See if we can get in there. And pinch the top of it down. And that'll allow us to push that through, hopefully, here. See, I'm starting to push it through after you pinch it. Hopefully the camera is focusing. So now on that back side, see it's poking through. You can kind of wiggle it out of there. There we go. Just like that. See what I mean by pinching it down? You pinch that terminal down and it'll release it. And that's all you got to do to remove those unwanted wires from the bulkhead. I'll do the rest and then we'll continue to the other side. Okay, before we move forward, I want to show you guys what I did here. Obviously, we removed those wires that were sitting here. And we also got rid of that resistant wire and we added that pink/red. It probably looks more red on camera than anything, but got rid of that and then put that one in for our ignition. Remember, don't use that resistance wire over there. That thing is trash. Now, I went ahead and actually removed the orange one also because I found another power wire on this side that we can use. I think I like that better than trying to jump that wire over, you know? So that'll give us an extra power on this side for our relays. The orange one that you remove, you can actually repurpose it if you really want to for your ignition wire on that bulkhead. You just got to relocate it. Now, I went ahead and did a brand new wire with the new terminal and everything. I went ahead and crimped one on with the new terminal. But if you guys don't have these terminals, you probably just want to reuse like that orange wire, but make sure it's nice and thick. That one there is probably about a 14 gauge, so that's what I put on there. So that is a good idea. Just repurpose that one. You just have to reopen up that clip a little bit so it stays. Like I said, I have these on hand just because I've done so many of these harnesses. So if you have them, then go for it. But if not, just repurpose that orange one. But moving on to this guy here, I went ahead and removed the green one for the temp sensor. And if you keep going forward, you're going to have a couple wires up here. You're going to want to leave these. The only thing you're going to want to remove up here in this little area where the headlight's at for the driver's side. So here you can also remove this voltage regulator connector. You got two wires here you can remove. You just got to follow them up there, get them out of there. And then you're going to have one brown wire going back to the bulkhead. You can remove that one from the bulkhead. And then you're going to have this fusible link right here with this one here for the voltage regulator from actual red power cable. So this is the one I was talking about. We'll reuse this one for the relays and we'll just cut it here and we'll have constant power for our relays. So I'm going to do that now and then we'll keep moving. Now once we get to this side, there's really not a lot to do over here besides power. You see on this side, somebody tried to do their own thing with their power supply from the battery cable. So they went straight out of the battery cable and then they kind of spliced it there, which is kind of a crappy way to do it. There's supposed to be a battery post on the core support. So that's what actually we'll do is we'll get rid of this, put an actual battery post there, and then we'll come off with the new battery cable and then we'll cut that there. And then this wire as well, this one they actually go back to the starter and hook up to the battery cable from the starter like that. But we're not going to do that either, because it doesn't really make sense to have that way anyways. We'll just completely go as well to the post here, just like that. So we'll cut that down here. We'll cut it, yeah, about there, just to give us an extra little, let's do it that. Do that. If I can do this with one hand. There we go. Cut that off there. We don't need to go to the starter anymore there. We'll go to the battery post here. And this also black, I don't even know it looks almost black brown. It's hard to say, boys. If you guys can't see the wire color, take some WD-40 and a rag and just soak the wire in it, and you'll be able to see the color. But this has a fusible link, so this is a power cable that runs back to the inside of the car. So what we'll do is we'll leave this here. We'll probably just cut it here as well. We'll cut that there like that, and then we'll do the same thing. We'll hook those up to that battery post there, and then from there to our actual battery, and then from the battery to the starter, and so on. But nothing to do really with the headlights. The headlights, you'll be fine. You don't have to do much to it unless you're upgrading headlights. And then we kind of have to fix this freaking mess over here that somebody messed up these side marker lights. But brown should be a side marker light. Blue, this dark blue, should be the turn signal light in the bumper. So we'll fix those up. But that's pretty much it. That's all you really got to remove in the factory harness. You guys can see we got a bunch of random cables over here, the ones we already took out. But I will do is I will lace a blue cable in line with this stuff to go from this side to all the way to where our relays are going to be at on the side of the fender on the driver's side. A blue cable for our trinary switch, so that way it's in the harness already. We'll kind of lace it in with that. So what I'll do is I'll clean up this mess a little bit. I got to run here, but we'll continue this in the morning if you guys kind of want to see what this looks like somewhat put together a little bit. You guys ever like get in that zone where you just like don't want to stop, you just keep going, before you know it, you're like, oh snap. You lose track of time, or you're supposed to be filming for you guys. Guys, I get so into the wiring, I don't know what it is, man. It relaxes me, I don't know. Well, I'm crazy, I'm weird. But I got the harness pretty much done and laid out for the most part. Everything we're gonna need. I even set up some wires for some relays, for fan relays, just in case we're gonna need those. Well, I should say I know we're gonna need those. But this is what we got going on. I stopped myself because I started taping, and before you know it, I was like, oh snap, I gotta show you guys what I got going on before we do that. And I wanted to try to leave it in the rawest form possible so you guys can see what we got going on. So where should we start here? As a matter of fact, let's start from the beginning, right? Let's start from up here. Obviously, the bulkhead. So you're gonna have the wires that come back to here for your ignition and starter, right? That's what those guys there. And then you have, I left these alone for the most part. These are obviously your windshield wiper motor. We're not gonna eliminate that. We're gonna keep those. Those are always good to have. And then the other side is really all the wires that run to the front of the car for the most part. With the exception of this one here. You guys know this one goes to your brake proportioning valve. It's a brake switch light. I think it's just a dummy light, but we left that there. We're gonna leave that one there. But what I did do is that I didn't talk about earlier. See the two pink wires? Remember we were talking about ignition hot? So I had to order some pink wire. I didn't have any in stock, so I added 2 ignition hot wires, and then obviously pinned them on this side. And basically, I wanted those for any kind of relays that we might run, because you always want to run the ignition hot to those relays. But on this back side, you're going to have to match it on the other bulkhead connector on the actual dash side. So be wary of that, guys. If you guys are doing this and adding pins, make sure you add them on the other side as well. Make sure you got an ignition hot on the back side feeding that thing, or make sure it's the proper wire feeding it, not a ground or something crazy. But so we added those two there, right? We're gonna come up, and then I went ahead and kind of zipped them up a little bit just to try to keep everything in the areas we want them at. Now I went ahead and, like I said, I started taping, put new ends on these connectors because the lights, this is a side marker, the connector was all clapped up, it was trash. Same thing for the connector at your turn signal on the bumper. So let me see if I can position this a little bit better. So it'll be kind of something like this, right? This will be on the side marker. And then these are the harness that I made up for the relays. So we'll have our relays and they'll sit kind of in the fender there. I always like to have them where you can get to them. So obviously we got ignition hot, we got a hot we can share. And then we have a ground. And then we have these two white wires are actually gonna run all the way through here and through these guys, and they'll end up landing there. Those two white wires are gonna be our power for our fans. So that'll basically be the output of the relay. So we ran those in line as well. That way we had everything there. Now this blue wire I ran for your trinary switch. This will be the activation for the trinary switch from the fan relay. And that runs all the way in line and ends up that guy there to the front of the car where the AC trinary switch is at. Now you come back to here, obviously we already talked about that guy. These are all your grounds, really, all your grounds for the lighting and also the ground. I added, this is the ground for the relays there. And these are the grounds that come from this harness. You got two coming from there, and then you got another one coming in from these guys, and then you got one more coming all the way through the front of the car, and then it lands up here, and that'll be the main ground that gets hooked up to the battery. So it'll really feed all our electronics in this side of the harness. As a matter of fact, we'll just end up putting it on the radiator support, core support, hooking everything up there along with this ground for the lights. So obviously we have our headlights, high beam, low beam, and we continue on here. And this is just the horn relay setup here. We left the horn relay wires intact, guys, because we're not sure if he's going to want to run horns, so we left those in line. Keep that in mind. We left that, and obviously these are the ones that are going to be running to your fans. These will be your electric fans, and you'll have obviously 1 and 2 dual fans, and they'll land somewhere in there. We'll kind of leave that like that. And then you go across, and as a matter of fact, I should have one wire here that I'm going to add, but I ran out of wire, boys. I ran out of wire, long story short. I ran out of this green wire for the horn. I'm probably just going to end up using this guy here, but you guys can see this is engine oil on it, or engine oil temp. Obviously, this is a factory harness wire, but this will work just fine. I'll probably just run this one because it's just going to run from like right here to right there for the horn. So that's it. We'll have one from there to there just in case he wants to run his horn. And like I said, we come in, continue here, and this is pretty much the radiator support at this point. And that's that trinary switch that's going to run back to the switch that'll be on the dryer. And then we have our battery cables will land here, whether they're on a post or directly to the battery, I'm not sure yet. So we just kind of coil them up in here. We got PART positives, and this is their ground. And then obviously we continue here to our headlights. We got low beam, high beam, and then you're gonna have your rest of your lighting, just your turn signal, and that's your side marker. To see the side marker, like I said, I went ahead and made connectors, new connectors, because the old ones were all just trash and they were using this junk. Where the hell is it at? They were using, where is it, boys? Like shit like this. Look at this. Excuse my French. Crap like that. So we don't want that. Eliminated that. Now, as far as your grounds go, boys, make sure your grounds are very, very secure. If anything is not grounded properly, you're gonna have issues. I'm just telling you right now. What we got left is to really lace this thing up. We're gonna put electrical tape because it is living in the engine bay. And then I'm gonna do some wire loom, clean it all up. Like I said, I do gotta add that one wire. But let me know what you guys think, man. You guys like the information? I hope so. Hey, I see you guys watching, man. So hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the bell for notifications. And you guys already know, stay wrenching.